Good morning, welcome to the ADS Securities Markets Update. The US dollar traded slightly higher yesterday against some of the major currencies, while the British pound showed a continuous strength, despite the fact that the inflation figures from the UK increased last month, but less than expected. The year-over-year CPI advanced by 0.1% as widely expected, while the core CPI increased towards 0.9%, while the estimates were to rise towards 1%. Moreover, the house price index in the UK showed a significant slowing down, declining toward 5.5%, down from 9.6%. This is despite the fact that the estimates were to rise toward 10.2%. But this is probably due to the general elections uncertainty back then, and we believe that it should be covered maybe next month. In the meantime, the uptrend is likely to continue ahead of the Federal Reserve decision and the UK jobs report also later today during the European session ahead. The euro also eased back slightly yesterday, but remained well above its short-term 4-hour trend lines or uptrend lines on the 4-hour chart, which stand around 1.1230. The ZEW economic sentiment came in lower than expected for Germany and the Eurozone yesterday after a series of gains in the past 4 months. In the US, the economic releases also came in with mixed outcome yesterday, and the building permits, first of all, increased by the most since 2010, rising by 11.8% in May. However, the housing start decreased sharply by 11.1%, which is also the biggest monthly decline in almost or since February of this year. As for today, the Asian session had a few economic releases from New Zealand and Japan. Beginning with New Zealand, the current account posted a surplus again by 0.66 billion in Q1 compared to a deficit of 3.17 billion in Q4 of last year, while the estimates again were to post a surplus of 0.28 billion also only. This is also the biggest quarterly surplus since Q1 of last year. In Japan, the trade balance surplus narrowed, but less than expected again, towards minus 0.18 trillion yen in May compared to minus 0.24 trillion yen in April, while it had been anticipated again to narrow toward minus 0.17 trillion yen, and this is the lowest deficit in almost 2 months. As for the European session today, there are also many economic figures will be released from the UK and the Eurozone, which is likely to have a notable impact on the market. However, the impact is likely to be short-lived ahead of the Federal Reserve decision later tonight. In the UK, the jobs report will be released today at 8:30 GMT time. The claimant count change may decline by 12.5 thousand in May compared to a decline of 6.5 thousand for the month before. The unemployment rate is expected to remain stable at 5.5%, while the average earnings index will be the most significant in this report. The estimates are to rise toward 2.1% in April compared to 1.9% in March, which would be also the highest reading since December of last year. Moreover, the MPC meeting minutes will be released today or at the same time with the jobs report. Nothing significant is expected in this meeting minutes. In the Eurozone, the inflation data, or the final inflation data, will be released today. The year-over-year and the core CPI, or the year-over-year CPI and the core CPI, are expected to remain stable or unrevised at 0.3% and 0.9% respectively. Going forward to the US session today, no economic figures will be released from the US ahead of the FOMC decision. However, in Canada, we will be waiting for the wholesale sales, and the estimates are to rise by 0.3% in April compared to a rise of 0.8% in March. Finally, the Federal Reserve decision will be released today or tonight at 10 p.m. Abu Dhabi time, which is around 6 p.m. GMT, including the FOMC statement and the economic projections. We believe for the time being that the Federal Reserve will keep the current policy on hold and likely to cut the 2015 GDP and inflation estimates again, which would be the 6th time the Federal Reserve changes the outlook or revises the outlook to the downside. The significant part in this decision will be Janet Yellen press conference at around 10:30 p.m. Abu Dhabi time, which is 6:30 p.m. GMT time. In her statement, she might even keep the hopes again for a rate hike in September, despite the fact that the recent economic figures are not supporting the idea of a rate hike anytime soon. But the US dollar may suffer right after the decision, especially if the Federal Reserve keeps the rates on hold and revises the 2015 outlook to the downside again, while Janet Yellen's speech will be the key for now. Follow us on our social media sites, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube to get our special report about the Federal Reserve decision and the expected scenarios for the USD trends. I'll see you once again tomorrow. Thank you for watching. I'll see you once again tomorrow.